So as a repetition of yesterday's video where Father Kevin talked about how Ignatius, through his daydreaming and his reading, came to a moment of conversion, I want to talk about that, but focus on what it was that caused, or at least was a major instrument in this change. Because he was bored, he asked for books. Now, his sister-in-law had her husband's wild younger brother there in the castle, and he wanted to read romance novels. She may have had some of those, but all we know is that it was told to him, there are only these two books here in the castle, The Life of Christ and The Life of the Saints, which very likely she was quite happy to give to this young man, hoping for some sort of a change. But the change that came about through reading those books was beyond anything she ever imagined, because those books excited in St. Ignatius's imagination new deeds of valor, but now for God, new deeds of mortification and of penance, but for God, new deeds of suffering and glory, but for God. And the Lord one day would have to sort all of this out, but for the moment, Ignatius, through his reading, had discovered that his life previously was a pale and a weak sort of life compared to the life that God was offering to him. And the lesson I want to draw from that is how important it can be for us to have spiritual books that we're dipping into almost every day, because we are influenced by the sort of vanities of our time, and Ignatius influenced by the vanities of his time, and the spiritual books threw a light onto a different sort of life, in the same way that the spiritual reading that we can do and the books we can look at can throw what we're too tempted to follow into a same sort of light, that this is not worth it. And so if you're not reading spiritual books, find something that you can dip into every so often. It might be a contemporary spiritual writer, like Thomas Merton or James Martin, or it might be some classic saint who wrote on prayer, like Teresa of Avila or St. Bernard, or it might be one of the ancient church fathers or mothers, writing about some of our doctrines that are just so beautiful and how it affects them. Could be some way of praying. Many different types of spiritual books. It could easily be, as St. Ignatius found, a life of Christ or a life of the saints. But find spiritual reading and allow it to make changes in your life, because we have this great example of St. Ignatius where his reading brought a huge change into his life. And that's the wisdom of St. Ignatius for today.